SMART24, driving business.
We've got 3 minutes past 9 o'clock in the morning. It is Smart Means Business. How are you doing? Hope you're okay. It is a cold morning, as you can definitely experience in most parts of the country. And of course, we only left with 1 week to head to the Fed, to quickly head into Christmas Day. But before that, just to quickly remind you that, well, you can enjoy Christmas by investing in bonds and securities. And the only way to do it is by trusting your money with Alltech East Africa's Zabu. Zabu says, my money, my future. If you have no money today, you should not worry and you have no hassle. Definitely what you need to do is use the USSD code *292# so that you will definitely choose a preferred maturity bond. That will be an answer for your journey, and of course your investment will be something that you look forward to. Tell you what, it is as simple as that. You can choose a preferred maturity period for your bond and then follow the prompts that will definitely help you as an individual. So these are things that you should be working upon if you are to experience some good way of getting some money during this festive season. Now, the markets open at 8:15 a.m. and close at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. Please do note that these markets are closed during weekends and on public holidays. And now getting back to our SMB Insight this morning. Now, a few days back, Uganda and the International Monetary Fund reached an agreement of $240 million in financing. The IMF staff made the announcement on Wednesday, the 21st, and we did have that same report here on Business Today. Now, the deal on economic policies concludes the second and third reviews under the Extended Credit Facility Arrangement, that is the ESF. So the Extended Credit Facility Arrangement does provide financial assistance for countries protracted with balances of payment problems. Among the other countries that are actually part of the extended credit facilities include Ghana. Recently also Kenya added itself onto the queue. Ghana wants a bailout. Zimbabwe, on the other hand, is also Zambia. So you can say most of the African countries. Now, this other scheme here in Uganda will provide financial assistance to countries. And of course, Uganda will then access the funding in the coming weeks. Now, once the review is formally completed by the International Monetary Fund Executive Board in Uganda, they will then pass on the $240 million. Now, these funds will bring the total IMF financial support under the Extended Credit Facility financed program to about $625 million here in the country. Now, the economic recovery is underway according to the fund, and the growth in the fiscal year for 2022-2023 from July to June was projected at 5.3%. That is a 0.7% point lower than the time the first review was done here in the country in March. So when you look at that, that is approximately 873.8 billion Ugandan shillings from a Ugandan currency point of view. But in this SMB Insight, the Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, Ramadan Gobi, does bring us to speed with how they're going to effectively use this money and how will they disburse it off. Let's have more in the SMB Insight.
Back in June of last year, 2021, and they came in to support us to ensure that we have a post-COVID recovery initiative worth also $1 billion of support, $1 billion of US dollars, or equivalent of 722 SDRs. And this particular review we've had, both, which is a combined second and third review of the program, has gone on for quite some time, and we are very happy as Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, the Central Bank, and my colleague, the Deputy Governor, is here. We will have a few moments. We are very happy as government of Uganda that we've reached this level where we've had the staff of the IMF agreeing to a number of our reforms. As the government of Uganda, we've been making or working on a number of reforms under this program. This is a program for Uganda, not necessarily an IMF program. We are working on our own reforms supported by the IMF. That is very, very important for us to note, ranging from strengthening our governance by reducing corruption in the country, where a number of initiatives are being undertaken. For example, publishing the number of leaders who did not submit their asset declarations as required by law in the prescribed timelines, and even publishing names of those found in breach of the Leadership Code Act, as well as regulations. As you know, this country, we need this governance reform more than ever before. Secondly, we have also worked on how to enhance, and we are still working on them, fiscal sustainability and transparency by publishing our medium-term fiscal frameworks, which are aligned with the international standards. We are also targeting more social spending. How do we get the programs which invest in people to get more resources and more also focused by government? We are strengthening our expenditure commitment controls. How do we control expenditures in government? By especially sanctioning our public officers, particularly accounting officers, who make unauthorized expenditures. We are working on how, as Mal has said, how to improve our revenue mobilization effort by adopting reforms which are going to improve the revenue area, particularly the tax exemption rationalization. We have put in place a plan to rationalize tax exemptions and also to implement effectively our domestic revenue mobilization strategy. In addition, we are strengthening our management, our fiscal infrastructure to manage our oil revenues. And here we have adopted a new charter for fiscal responsibility under also this very program, which was approved by Parliament, and we launched it by this ministry. We are also working on other areas in the financial architecture of the country, which I'm sure my colleague, the Deputy Governor, will talk about at the Bank of Uganda. Therefore, going forward, we have agreed with the IMF on about 11 structural benchmarks, both new and some of them reprogrammed, to finalize this effort of reforming ourselves to have a better economy, a better country, and also sustain all what we are doing. We have a list here which we can as well give you, but I can briefly say, in a continuation with our momentum for reform, we shall continue to strengthen governance and reduce the vulnerability to corruption by establishing a legal and regulatory mechanism, or a number of mechanisms, for timely access to accurate beneficial ownership information for legal entities. So you're going to strengthen that area of beneficial ownership information, how it could be accessed. Then number 2, again in our objective of strengthening fiscal transparency, we are going to continue with our work with Parliament on the Treasury Memoranda that explain how the weaknesses raised by the Auditor General in the 2020-21 audit have been addressed by government. These two benchmarks which have been reprogrammed. They were in the last year, but because of our inability to meet them, since they were either being still legislated or they required amendment of some laws, they have been reprogrammed and we are going to do them next year. Another one also reprogrammed is in the area of strengthening the governance and financial sector stability, and this one will require us to develop and implement tools for risk-based anti-money laundering supervision of the commercial banks or the financial sector as a whole. The other number 4 is to improve domestic revenue mobilization still by designing an ICT strategy that would support our ETAs. I think you know the new integrated tax administration system at URA. The other one is in the area of strengthening social assistance programs in a more sustainable way. We have committed ourselves to developing a financial inclusion module in the parish development management information system, in our PDM management information system. We are going to develop a financial inclusion module to track access to revolving funds, by targeted vulnerable households. So we are going to be strengthening further our PDM in that line. The number 6 is in the area still of governance and fighting corruption. We are going to publish on the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development website decisions arising from investigations that led to sanctions, and also with the clear penalties, personal penalties for officers responsible for unauthorized spending commitments. So accounting officers who engage in unauthorized, or any other officer, unauthorized spending commitments, we are going to be publishing, especially those who have been investigated, the outcomes and their sanctions as well as penalties. Then the other one we have committed on is in the area again of strengthening our financial stability. We are going to issue a resolution at the Bank of Uganda board level on the ownership structure for the data collected by the Central Data Hub as a prerequisite for the use of the Credit Registration Bureau or Credit Reference Bureau data. The other one is in the area of enhancing BOU governance. We expected it to have Parliament adopting the BAU Act amendments to amend the BOU Act to strengthen governance and autonomy of the central bank. The other one, again, to further strengthen governance and corruption, the Directorate for Ethics and Integrity will publish, in relation to the strategic objectives of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, they are going to publish the following. Number one, an assessment report against the agreed indicators and targets. Number two, annual report for this fiscal year 22-23 on the prevalence of corruption and anti-corruption efforts as guided by that strategy, the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, Monitoring and Evaluation Framework. Then in the area of strengthening corporate governance within the financial sector and its stability, we are going to adopt amendments to the Financial Institutions Regulations in line with the principles provided in the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision's guidelines on corporate governance. And finally, in order to improve budgetary planning and funding of the education system, we are going to finalize entries of learners' data into Education Management Information System, we call EMIS, and publish diagnostics by local governments informing the education sector funding needs. And that is the 11th benchmark. So those benchmarks, 11 of them, we have committed on achieving them by December of 2023, by the end of next year. Thank you.
$240 million through the extended credit facility. The International Monetary Fund will definitely be giving that to Uganda. Now, that is approximately 873.8 billion shillings, and the Executive Board and the IMF management will in the upcoming weeks approve this particular disbursement. And of course, they will be reviewing the economy, and then by 2023, hopefully, by the end of next week, we shall be having this money into the Treasury. And of course, as highlighted by the Permanent Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Ramadan Gobi, in that SMB Insight. So pretty much a time when you know that most of the African governments have been facing some of these huge economic constraints. In one way or the other, others have actually been throwing in supplementary budgets to cater for different sectors that received less funding at the end of it all. So the other answer has always been through the International Monetary Fund, and of course the World Bank coming in one way or the other, and other international donors as well, international organizations that have been supporting heavily and sending in more money to the different governments and of course across the African continent. Well, and that is it for today's. If you're to look at something coming in from the SMB Insight, but after the break we shall be returning with Barija and give you more of the weekly discussion here on Smart Means Business Topics. It's Friday. Today is the 23rd of December. What a day to be alive. One day to Christmas. This is SMB. You're watching Smart24 TV.